Good morning, fellow Highlanders, and welcome back to the 2020-2021 school year. It is a pleasure to have all of you back. I hope you had a wonderful summer. It's been quite a challenging summer, but we are very excited to have you back and looking forward to the beginning of the school year and our work again with our students. After 6 months of long planning and task force development, changing orders, and the such, I just want to thank you for your patience and your understanding as we enter into surely to be a challenging year. So again, thank you for being here this morning, and hope that you got off to a good start over the last couple of days. I know we had some voluntary professional development and back at it yesterday. So it's great to see some of you yesterday, and I look forward to seeing many of you as we get into next week as we begin. I just would ask that you remember as you welcome students back next week, that you will be giving them some of the best days and experiences they've had over the last 6 months. As you know, it's been a trying time for our families and our students, both academically as well as socially and emotionally. So, as you welcome them back, it's a key time in their lives as well. It's a new start. It's a new school year with new teachers, new classmates, and new experiences. And I want you to remember that your presence will remind them that they belong somewhere. They're back with their friends. They're back with their teachers, and they've been missed by someone. Your work will also remind them that it's okay to be afraid and have those anxiety and stressors as we initially return back. But fear does not stop us and will not stop us. There's future beyond the coronavirus, and going back to school is one way that we can start to build that bright future for all of our students. You're an amazing example, and so I ask that you continue to lead by that example, and certainly around coronavirus, if you are feeling sick or you feel like you have symptoms, staying at home, wearing a mask, socially distance. We'll remind students that following the rules is how we stop letting the pandemic happen to us and dictate our actions, and how we start happening to the pandemic versus reacting to it. And then more than anything else, I want to share a word of thanks on behalf of the district, the Board of Education, and the community and myself. Thank you for choosing to work in the field of education. There's never been a more challenging time with so little experience. As you know, last spring we went into this kind of just on the fly, and you guys made it a tremendous experience under extreme circumstances. So I want to thank you for doing all your work and all your efforts last spring and certainly throughout the summer. I know we had a ton of teachers and administrators on our task force development answering over 500 questions. The detail that went into that plan is an amazing piece of work. So thank you for that. Also for returning to Oak Hills local schools. Again, I know there's a lot of anxiety and stress around that, rightfully so. But whether you're virtually or in person, you are a major part of the Highlander team, and your presence strengthens all of us, as well as our students, our families, and our community. I thank you for setting aside your own fears and misgivings to come back. Again, very, very trying times, but I believe in our team. I believe in each one of you, and I know that we will persevere through this. Thank you for helping reignite the love for learning that was about to take place. I thank you for helping reconnect our students, and I thank you for your work in the community to restart the Oak Hills kind of world. And so as we roll into this, we thought this morning, many of you may already be familiar with Brad Lovell. Brad has been our key advisor in our strategic planning process last year, along with Bill Sears from Hamilton County Education Service Center, which he continues to work out of. We're excited to have Brad here this morning. A little bit of background on Brad. Brad taught third grade and kindergarten in Wyoming City Schools to start his career. He's also an assistant principal in the Forest Hills local school district. He's also principal in Milford and Lakota. After a brief stint, or a long stint, I guess half stint, he left education and worked for Crossroads Church, where he led both local and global partnerships. And he's also a member of the Lakota Board of Education. And he also works as a consultant helping districts discover their why, which he's going to talk a little bit about this morning, and build plans for greatness as we continue into these very challenging times. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Brad this morning, and take it away, Brad.
Jeff, thank you so much. I appreciate that warm introduction. I'll tell you, it's every time I have an experience with Oak Hills, it is this warm West Side welcome. And I am not a West Sider. And so there really is a true statement there to be said about the welcome that you receive from Oak Hills and the West Side every time I engage with you. And so, like Jeff said, I have absolutely enjoyed every moment of working with you all with the strategic planning process. And I'm hopeful that post-COVID, we can get this thing going again soon, because I do believe really strongly in discovering the why and the vision. But today, this morning, we're not talking about that. We're actually going to be engaging in a conversation around this idea of thrive, not just survive. And here's what I'm going to say. Every meeting right now that I engage in, or probably you engage in, give me 1 second here. I'm going to share my screen with you. There we go. Oh, almost. All right, there we go. Christian, can you give me the wink or the thumbs up? Great, cool. So every meeting that we engage in, I'm pretty confident you hear this statement. Well, I know it would be better if we were in person, right? Like there's this like leading into a conversation around what we're doing right now is just not what it should be. And I'm going to counter that at the moment. And I'm going to actually say to you, let's today, this morning to start, have a thriving mindset rather than a survival mindset. And let's actually, for a moment, take a deep breath and let's just say, what if in this moment in time, this is actually the perfect way to connect as a group? The perfect way, right? May not be the way that we envisioned, but it's the perfect way. Because I have this thought and feeling, and I have this saying that resonates with me over time, that we get to do this, okay? Now, here's what I want you to do. I don't know where you're at. I don't know if you're at home. I don't know if you're in your buildings. I don't know if you're in your classroom isolated, or if you're socially distant with friends right now watching this. Wherever you are, I want you to stop, and I want you to say out loud, I get to do this, okay? Now, may sound cheesy, may sound weird, I have a wife, I'll tell you here in a second, that teaches sixth grade math, and she'll come home and she'll say, awkward turtle, right? I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. It's a junior high thing. Yeah, it might feel awkward turtle because we're like saying this out loud. But I truly believe that if we don't verbally articulate something, we don't actually mean it sometimes, right? What's inside must come out in some instances. And so I get to do this. We get to do this. There are very few people in this world that can say they make the impact that we make each and every day. We get to do this, people. We get to have daily moments of lasting impact that have the ability, wait for it, to radically change the world. And if you don't believe that, you might be in survival mode. And what I want you to do is take a step back, and I want you to think about thriving. And I want to think about the ripple effects that you have every single day on the individuals you encounter. And I'm not just talking about the students. Each and every one of you, it doesn't matter what your role is in the school system. Each and every one of you have the ability every single day to radically change the world that we live in. And I would imagine the majority of you right now believe that our world needs change. I truly believe that, right? In some way, shape, or form. And guess what? It starts with you. So this is my family. I always have to lead in with my family because they are my why, right? This is where you start. This is where we get our rest from, the people that we do community with. And your family might look way different than my family, and that's fine, right? We all come from a very special place, and we'll talk about that here in a second when we value our story. But I just want to share, Jeff did a great job of recapping my kind of journey, right? Like my experiences I've had. But, you know, when I was looking to craft this slide, I was really thinking about like, part of it's like, I like putting this slide in. The other part of it's like, gosh, I really hate like bragging about myself, who I am, right? It just kind of feels awkward. At the same rate, when I was designing this, I was thinking like, what is it at Oak Hills that I felt like from the very beginning of the work? And I've been there almost 2 years now, working with y'all. What is it that I feel? And the number one thing that resonated through strategic planning, that's resonated through anything I do, is I just feel a part of your family, right? Like I just feel like I am part of your family, even though I am from way far north. And I always joke about the passport thing, but I won't do that in front of y'all. I don't want to offend anybody. But yeah, like, I mean, you all have just like accept us as family coming in and working with you. And so I thought, you know, okay, so who am I? To be honest with you, I'm just one of you. I'm part of your family, right? I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a spouse, I'm a nephew, I'm an uncle. I'm a former teacher, former administrator, I'm a board president, I'm a facilitator and speaker, consultant, and coach. And you can see how kind of my thread and the experiences that I have kind of have landed me in a place where I just have this unique and interesting perspective. But that perspective doesn't devalue your perspective, right? Like your perspective and what you do every day and the value that you bring is extremely important. So really quick, we'll talk about that. But however, first, I want to touch on this, the most important part, right? So that picture up there, I got to introduce those folks. The person on the left is the love of my life, my wife, Kristen. She is a teacher in Lakota. That's right. I am board president. My wife is a teacher in the district. I'm a former administrator in the district, and my child goes to the district. Let's talk about one bundle joy of happiness right there, right? I'm sure you can all appreciate the complexity that brings sometimes, but that's my wife, Kristen, 6th grade math. We've been married 15 years this year. My daughter, Isabella, she is in 1st grade and absolutely loving it. And she's in person. Feels awkwardly weird that I have to state that she's going to school in person, but hey, welcome to 2020, right? Like, and she is crushing it, absolutely loving it. And then that's my sweet little Georgia May there. She's the little one. And she just learned how to walk not long ago. And so I'm sure you can appreciate the fact that our house is destroyed and it's all being destroyed with this beautiful little smile that you just have to love, right? You just have to love her. So that's my family. That's my why. And now we can move on. So our story matters. I just shared my story, right? Jeff kind of gave you a prelude to some of the experiences I've had. I shared with you my family. But what I want to do is I want to anchor in really quick, and I want you to start reflecting. See, I'm a believer that our personal story is critical. Story is the basis of any relationship, and relationship is the actual starting point for what we get to do each day. You as educators understand the importance of the idea of connecting first, right? We recognize that if we don't have firm foundations, firm relationships, and we aren't making those critical connections early, the learning on the back end just doesn't happen. It stales out, or it just stops, right? And so what we want to do, no matter what environment you're walking into this year, right? Whether it's in person, whether it's remote, whether it's blended, whether it's virtual, what we know is that we have to understand the story that we bring to the table and the stories that others bring to the table. That doesn't matter. That supersedes any craziness that's happening in 2020, right? We know that story is the foundation of anything we do. For example, Jeff mentioned that I taught kindergarten. Now, let me be very extremely clear. I had no intention or any desire in my world about teaching kindergarten. I was happy in 3rd grade. It was a happy place for me. There was independence. You know, the kids could read on their own mostly. They could have quiet time. Going down to kindergarten was a mind blow, but my licensure was pre-K3, right? And so I had a principal that came to me, and my principal said, hey, just wanted to let you know next year you're going to be teaching kindergarten. Now, it wasn't this, hey, Brad, what do you think about that? Would you like doing this? It was, hey, Brad, guess where you're going next year? The boxes will be outside your door in about a week and a half. Yes, sir, right? I grew up in a family where my dad said, you know where you get your paycheck, right? You do what they tell you you're going to do. And I said, I can't wait to teach kindergarten. His name was Mr. Carvalano. Mr. Carvalano, I can't wait to teach kindergarten, right? And so I got my boxes and I went down, and that summer was not fun. Like, I was not thriving in that moment. I was in survival mode because I was thinking to myself, I don't even know. I student taught, and I didn't even student teach in kindergarten. I did whatever you call it, the field experience in kindergarten, right? So anyways, fast forward, kindergarten was probably one of my favorite things I ever did, was teaching kindergarten. I developed this love for literacy and this passion for early childhood development that I never in my mind thought I would ever have, right? Fast forward from that point, 8 years, and I'm now the principal of a K-1 building in Lakota with 700 students, right? I left that principalship at a sad state. I didn't know that at that moment, I knew I wanted to leave education because I felt like it was a calling to go to Crossroads and do the work I was going to do. I loved my job. I loved my job as a K-1 principal so much. I loved the literacy. I loved the families. I loved everything about it. But I saw this journey and I saw the things happening in my life. And we all have this story, right? And those stories influence how we decide to show up every single day. Each and every one of you, I don't know the pure number of people watching this right now, but every single one of you has a story. Every single one of you have experiences that have built upon previous experiences that landed you in the situation you are. And what I want you to hear and what I want you to know is that those stories are more important than you would ever think. And so what I would encourage you to do this year, no matter if you're blended, virtual, in person, whatever it is, be vulnerable. Tell your stories, because those stories and those things about you bring such a clearness and a fullness to your work every day. And the impact that you're going to have is way larger than you would ever think. But it starts with relationship, and it starts with embracing your story and seeing the impact of your story on others. So why do I share this? Well, partly because I believe that I actually found this on Facebook at the beginning of the pandemic. Some of you may have seen it. I don't know who the author is, but I'll tell you what, this is probably the thing that most resonated with me over the last 6 to 8 months when it comes to kind of inspiration, right? We are all in the same boat. So let's just call it out for what it is, right? The pandemic, COVID, whatever it is. We are all in the same boat together. In fact, this is probably the first time the entire world has actually been in a boat together, right? And so we are all in this boat together. But here's what we need to remember. We are not all in the same storm. We all have different lived experiences based on our story that puts us in a place to weather this storm very differently. Now listen to this. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Just like Jeff said, it is okay no matter where you are and what you believe and what you're going through. Empathy doesn't require that we have the exact same experiences of the person sharing their story with us. Empathy is connecting with the emotion that someone is experiencing, not the event or the circumstance. And that's a quote by Brene Brown. All right. For some of us, this is a storm. It's a storm. It's a bit scary. It's disruptive. It's enough to make you stay up and watch the news and worry a bit. To be quite honestly with you, that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like that's my mindset. But I recognize the fact that I know people in my inner circle that they're experiencing a hurricane right now, like an absolute hurricane. It's tearing at boards. It's pulling off roofs. It's washing them out to sea. It's dark and unknown, and it's life-changing. Maybe they knew what their in-person teaching would be like, and they've done that for years and years and years. And now all of a sudden we've got this hybrid, or all of a sudden we're teaching virtual, and everything I knew to be true is not true anymore, right? It's not wrong to be enjoying a sprinkle or enduring the storm. But listen to this. This is what I love. Don't negate the difference. Spend time with your family, rest with your family. But don't minimize the hurricane engulfing your neighbor, because we truly are better together, and we truly are in this together, right? And we have to figure it out together. We have to figure it out together. We can't dismiss people's emotions. We can't dismiss how people feel, but at the same rate, to thrive, to be in a thriving environment, we have to be in this together. And we have to walk this journey together, and we have to experience this storm together, even though the impact may be different. Dustin Shell is a good friend of mine, and he has written a few articles on this idea of thriving, not surviving. He does a lot in more workplace culture and things like that. And so he had this quote in an article that I was reading, and it says, "Be patient with yourself and your team as you embark on a new way to work. Whenever you are on this journey, when we are able to join with other people in their journey, they are able to thrive because they know we care. That's how we unleash potential and shine brighter." This idea of walking the journey with each other, it's just natural to us, I think, as educators, right? As much as we like to go into our classrooms or go into our environment and shut the door and have time to ourselves and with our kids, the reality is I think we all understand that we're in this together and we have to do it together, right? And I believe that this pandemic and the shifts that are happening is actually going to increase that collaboration in a whole new way. And we're going to talk here in a few minutes about why I think that. But what are I was thinking, what are the 3 words? Like if I were to give somebody 3 words about this year, what would those words be? And I'm hoping that these resonate with you, right? Here they are: patience, grace, and flexibility. right? Like those should be like on the front of our shirts, right? I am choosing to enter into this thriving environment with patience, with grace for my fellow employees and myself, and this incredible flexibility, because guess what, people? It's out of our control, right? Like it is as much as you want. Hey, this is from a board president. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Oak Hills board or Jeff, right? Like as much as you might think that the superintendent and the board of education are like, have complete control over things right now, they don't, right? Like there's so many things out of our control. And our job is just to manage that tension that exists, right? I often say, I love this quote by Andy Stanley, right? Are you trying to solve problems, or are they really just tensions that you need to work with, right? So are they problems to be solved or tensions that just exist, right? And I believe everything right now is just this massive tension that we exist in, and there's no real problems that we're able to solve in the midst of this. And that's a broad generalization, but I just kind of feel that. I feel that at the moment. Okay, I love this, all right? So the Firefly phenomenon. Now let's just stop for a second, because I know there are people out there that are going, Brad, they're called lightning bugs. Where are you from? So I just need to know, like, I'm going to look down. I've got a couple people on here. Is it West Side? Is it lightning bug or firefly? Just whisper it to me. And they're all different, right? Like they're all different. So here's what I'm going to say. I believe they're lightning bugs. However, it's called the firefly phenomenon. So we're just going to go with that for the moment. And so here's what this is. The firefly phenomenon, think about this. Alone, there is only 3% chance of a female firefly finding a mate. However, together, blinking together, there's an 83% chance that they will find a mate. Okay, now just walk this journey with me, right? So somebody did research on fireflies out there, and this was all written in the journal Science. And they did research, and they were trying to figure out, why is it in densely populated forests that lightning bugs flash together in unison? And how in the world could that happen? And so there are researchers that spent lots of time trying to figure this out. And in the book, The Big Potential by Sean Aker, which is a phenomenal book, I highly recommend it, he discussed this idea of the firefly phenomenon. The lightning bug researchers discovered that when fireflies were able to time their pulses with one another with astonishing accuracy, like literally to the millisecond, it allowed them to space themselves apart perfectly, thus eliminating the need to compete. In the same way, when we help others become better, we can actually increase the available opportunities. Instead of vying for them like the lightning bugs, once we learn to coordinate and collaborate with those around us, we all begin to shine brighter, both individually and as an ecosystem. Folks, this is how we thrive and not just survive. We need to be lightning bugs, right? We need to be lightning bugs. Now I'm going to move to the next screen, because I think that this is equally as important as what I just read. To get the benefits that come from syncing flashes with the group, a single firefly only needs to see one or two others. You can choose to be the pulse that helps others shine. Folks, you get to do this. You literally get to do this. You get to be the flash with somebody else that radically changes the ecosystem. Again, take a step back. I want everybody right now, instead of saying, I get to do this, I want you to say out loud, we get to do this. Because folks, we do. We get to do this every day. And if fireflies can do it, we can do it, right? Like, I mean, we truly can do this. And this year more than ever, we are experiencing different types of educational settings within the same exact school year. This really has never happened, right? And so collaboration is going to be even more important. What we don't want is, we don't want silos, right? We want people coming together. We want collaboration happening in a way that my shine makes you brighter. Just think of the complexity of collaboration within school settings. Not only are you collaborating across teams, with administrators, intervention specialists, to classroom teachers, in a virtual world, in an in-person world, in a blended world, custodians, bus drivers, right? Like I will up and tell you this. One of the most important people, they are two. Now, again, I'm going to probably offend some people, but I don't mean to offend in this comment. There are two people in a district that I often think are probably the most critical when we start talking about the influence they have on the system. When we think about perception of the district, when we think about the culture of a district and things like that, it's your bus driver and your kindergarten teacher, right? For the most part, exceptions aside, those are first experiences that people have with your organization, right? I think about it. When my daughter was in kindergarten, I walked her to the bus stop. Who was the first employee of the district that she ran into? The person that opened the door, smiled that bright smile at her and said, welcome to school, Isabella. That's literally what she said. She recognized that the school started in that classroom. And that school started in that bus, and that was part of the classroom. That was an extension of the classroom. And as a principal, I tried to say that all the time. Your school expectations should bleed right into those buses, right? There should be the same environment. And then that first teacher I had an interaction with, right? Now, again, it may have been a little different because I was on the board, but at the same rate, that was my daughter's world every single day last year, right? Until COVID hit. And so that experience, and again, that doesn't discredit anybody else in the organization. We all have impactful jobs and amazing jobs. But I say that because collaboration extends, right? Collaboration extends to so many different environments. And you have to be intentional about it this year, folks. You have to be intentional about it, because let's get out of this survival mindset. Let's just get out of it. And to Jeff's point, right? Let's be the beacon that shines through and pushes through this pandemic. So this is what we call the Thrive Index. And this is not scientific by any means. And we're not going to go into a lot of depth, but there's actually an assessment that you can take. And you could probably Google this and you could find a Thrive assessment and you get to fill it out, right? And it kind of tells you where you are from survival to thriving, right? And I would like to say I'm like on the way far end of this. I'm like a thriving human being. I might put on a good show, people, but believe me, I'm a board president, and it's been, of all, I was thinking about this the other day, literally of all elected board member terms, this is like literally the worst one to sign up for, right? Like a pandemic, now I'm board president, and like all these things are going down. So I feel like I'm in survival mode some days. However, as I go through these different areas of work and wellness and growth and connection and high performance, and I think about those in broad general terms, man, I've got a lot to be thankful for. We get to do this. I get to do this. And I need to have a thriving mindset more and more each day. And it's simple things you can do, simple things you can say just to flip that mindset, right? But these 5 areas here are critical to your success. And without any of these individual areas, there's no way you can be in a thriving mentality. Wellness. We talk about social emotional learning with our kids. It's equally or more important for you. How are you taking care of yourself? What do you do to take care of yourself in the midst of all of this? I have this, when I worked at Crossroads, we had this saying, and this idea that you have an option. You can either rest from your work, meaning you work, and then you fall over and you rest, and then you go back to work and work, and then you fall over and you rest. Or you can actually choose to work from rest. And what does that mean? Well, it means that you're taking opportunities to have regular rhythms of rest in your life. What are the things that fill you up? What are the things that rejuvenate you, that get you to this point of just wanting to do more and be more? Anchor in those. Don't anchor in work. And I might get fired from this. Jeff might say, hey, what are you doing? Tell them to work. I don't think he will, because that's not Jeff. But, the reality is this, right? Like, find your regular rhythms of rest. Enjoy yourself. Then engage in work. Folks, you can't have your email up all the time. The number one thing that I have done in my life, I heard this from she was a workplace expert. And she said this, the number one thing you should do, take your phone away from your bedside table. I get it. I use it as a alarm clock. I moved it across the room. And yes, I have to get up to go turn my alarm off. And that's actually a beautiful thing. However, what was I doing when I picked up my phone every day after I turned my alarm off? What did I do? I checked my email, right? And I predetermined how my day was going to be by 2 swipes of my email. I don't start my day that way anymore. I start my day from a place of rest. I get up, I get a cup of coffee, I do meditation, I see my daughters, I help them get ready, and then we all get out the door together. Or for me, I go into my office now in my home. It changes my mindset. It has radically changed how I approach my day, and coming from a place of rest to getting into that work is way easier, and I'm way more productive. Mindset matters. It really does. How you approach things is really important. I have this thing right now that I've just been screaming from the rooftops, and I don't know if it's gaining any ground. Probably not, because I don't have that big of a microphone. But I'll tell you this. So those of you that have been part of the strategic planning process in Oak Hills will completely appreciate this, right? One of the things that we talk over and over and over about is the idea of hard skills and soft skills, right? Here's the thing. Hard skills are easy to teach. Hard skills are those things that are predictable, content, curriculum. I mean, I say easy in the terms of like, they're very tactile. We know what we need to do. We can create a continuum. We can get them done. Soft skills are those things that we call 21st century skills, which I really don't like that term anymore, because they're just skills that we need to have, right? Perseverance, flexibility, grit, determination, and resilience. I want you to stop for a second and just think. Like, we have literally for years been beating our heads against the wall thinking about, how do we embed the idea of teaching grit? How do we embed the idea of teaching flexibility? How do we create a situation or scenarios where we teach resilience? Folks, the world has literally right now given us a classroom. I believe, now listen to this. You may disagree, but I'm telling you, I believe this. We have the ability right now, if we are intentional, to create the most resilient and flexible generation of kids we have ever created. And I say created in the way of taught, right? Like led on this journey. We get to do this. The world has created a place where our children and our families and we all have to have this level of resilience right now that no other generation has had to have when it comes to our systems and structures we operate in. Instead of taking a step back, and I don't want to discredit anyone's feelings or experiences, but I've heard a ton, believe me, trust me, for the last 6 to 8 months, however long it's been. My kid didn't get to do this. They didn't get field day. The graduation wasn't what they expected. On and on and on and on and on. And again, I walk that with you. We have been the same way in my family. There are things that we are saddened by that we didn't get to do. However, what if we changed our mindset? What if we actually stepped up and we said, look at the classroom the world has given us. We have, and we get to do this. We have the opportunity to create the most resilient generation we have ever created. We have the ability to create the most flexible human beings we've ever had, because guess what? They've been resilient. They've been flexible. That flip of mindset is how you move from surviving to thriving. How are you approaching things? How is your mindset when you think about the hard things you have to do? Because let me tell you something. If you articulate these are hard things, and I'm not telling you to hide your feelings, but if you're articulating them and you're bringing them forward, it's going to pan out in your classroom. It's no different than we talk about masks, right? I had more of an issue with my daughter wearing a mask than she did. And I'm going to tell you this is the truth. We went to Kings Island 3 times this summer, right? She wore a mask all day long in 95-degree heat. She never once complained about the mask. She complained about the heat, but she would have complained about the heat last summer, right? You know what else? She wore a mask all day at school yesterday. She came home. She played outside with her friends. We went to soccer practice where they don't have to wear a mask on the field. She said, Daddy, I want to wear my mask on the field. I'm thinking, you're crazy. Take it off. Go play with your friends, right? Because again, this is more of a storm than a hurricane to me. what I project and what I thought would be difficult for her, she is way more resilient than I would have ever suspected, right? It's the things that we don't give them the opportunity to experience and walk that journey with them. That's my experience, right? Again, your experience may be different. Your brain at a positive is 31% more productive than it is at a negative, neutral, or stressed. Look, I'm not talking about fake happiness here, people. I'm not talking about putting a smile on your face just because Brad gave you a pep talk and said you need to have a smile on your face. I'm talking about true happiness and true joy. Sean Akers' book talks about the happiness effect, right? And this is critical to our understanding of how the brain operates and what we do in building relationships and the power of story. And the idea that we're going to move out of survival into this venue in this arena of thriving, right? If we know that our brain at a positive is 31% more productive, folks, why aren't we more happy? Why don't we create more happy workplace culture? Come on, chop to it. Let's do it, right? Let's get that done. And while happiness is a choice, it's not just an individual one, it is an interconnected one. This is because when you choose to react with gratitude or joy, you make joy and gratitude easier for others. Gosh, the lightning bug effect, right? Or the firefly effect, right? That's what it is. That's it right there, folks. You individually have power, right? You individually have power. And if you think you don't, I'm going to call you out. You're wrong. You're completely wrong. What if? What if? What if we choose to show up different? What if we choose to think in a thriving mindset versus a survival mindset? What if we choose to find joy in the new way we have to teach? What if we choose to collaborate in a different way? What if we choose to share our story, a story that's been inside of us because we didn't think anybody else might value it? What if we choose to approach today in a different way than we've typically approached it? What if? Here's what I'm going to say. Quit asking what if. Do it, right? Take the step and think about where you are on that Thrive Index. Think about where you are. Are you in survival mode right now because of all these external factors that are hitting you? Are you sitting in your classroom or your home, wherever you are right now, going, I don't think I can do this. I just don't think I can do it. I'm here to tell you that you can. You can do this. And you can absolutely do this. And it's going to look weird. It's going to feel weird. It's going to be different. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. There are days my wife came home not long ago and just said, Brad, this is the year of teacher burnout, right? And you know what I did? I walked over to her, I gave her a hug, and I said, you're right. It probably is, right? I get it, right? This is not what you signed up for. This is not what you think you signed up for. But I'm telling you what, if you get out of that survival mindset and you get into a thriving mindset, I think you're going to be surprised. I think you're really going to be surprised about the joy and about the experiences and about the relationship and about the new ways you can do things that you never thought you could do. I mean, everybody likes to climb a mountain, right? And when I say climb a mountain, not like physically climb a mountain, not everybody likes to do that, but everybody likes that challenge because when you get to the top of the mountain, you know you've conquered something and you've done it and you're going to be way more resilient on the back end. We get to do this, folks. And more importantly, not only do we get to do this, but you matter. I spoke just a bit ago about this. It's how you choose to show up that matters the most, right? How are you showing up? There's a fantastic video out there, and I highly recommend you find it online. And I apologize, this is so ad lib right now. I don't know what the name of the video is, but essentially this guy's going through the airport, right? And it's Christmas Day, and he's traveling for business or personal, whatever. And he goes up to the barista at the coffee shop, and the barista is just the most delightful human being ever, right? Ask him his name, engages with him. He's just like completely dumbfounded by how just positive she is, right? Because I mean, it's Christmas and she's a barista and she's working in an airport. And he said, how do you find so much joy out of a cup of coffee? And she said, I'm not pouring a cup of coffee, I'm pouring happiness. I tell you that, and it's a good video, but I tell you that because here's the deal. She's choosing how she shows up at her work, right? She's choosing how she shows up on the soccer field. She's choosing how she shows up in her house. We all have choices. But just like the firefly phenomenon, the reality is this: your actions and how you choose to show up is interconnected, and it can radically change the ecosystem. What I'm going to leave you with is this. I want you to think about, what do you want your ecosystem to look like this year? Doesn't matter what you're doing. Are you virtual, blended, in person? Doesn't matter. It's all the same Oak Hills ecosystem. How are you choosing to show up? And what do you want that ecosystem to be? And I will say, if you take a step back and you find time today, and this is my challenge to you, I want you to find 10 minutes today, just 10. Folks, you can waste away 10 minutes scrolling your Facebook feed. I promise you that. Find 10 minutes today. And I want you to get a piece of paper, get a computer, get your phone, do whatever you want to do. And I want you to find a corner, find somewhere, and I want you to sit down. And I want you to write, what is your desire for the Oak Hills ecosystem this year? How are you going to choose to show up? And personally reflect on, what do you need to do different? What do you need to do different? Because you matter. How you show up matters. And the ripple effects that you have on kids for generations to come matter about what you choose to enter this year as. Folks, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share with you this morning. It is way more of a joy than you would ever know, being able to be here and talk to you. I hope that you got something out of this, some little tiny nugget. I hope you were inspired. And I really, 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 truly hope that you all have literally the best year you have ever had. And I hope that you, on the back side of this year, you look back and you are so stinking proud of yourselves and the work that you did collaboratively as a team. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Just incredible, uplifting and encouraging message this morning. As always, tremendous job. We thank you from Oak Hills family for your time and efforts this morning. Look forward to continuing our work with you. Thank you again. We hope you have a wonderful day as well. Right now we have just a short, if you could stay on, staff, just a short 3-minute video, and then we'll come back and close it out before we allow you to get back on your day.
We see the dark and waving
I apologize for some of those technical difficulties. Is it back on? Thanks, Christian, and to the team. And as we leave today and move into our professional development sessions, again, thank you to Brad. Thank you to our Board of Education for supporting the work that we have all done, including you teachers and staff throughout the summer, as well as the district leadership team, building leadership team, and so many of you that have been part of our journey this summer. As Brad said, it's true. You make a difference, and I believe in you, and I know our district believes in you. As we roll ourselves out and get ready for our students to return next week, I just want to again give you the encouragement to know that you do make a difference and we are better together. Have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you.